All right. Well, hello everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining. This is the fourth rendition of Desk-Side Chats here with Regpack. I'm Connor, a Client Success Manager here at Regpack, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about the different uses of Regpack. So if I go ahead and share my screen real quick. You guys all should now be seeing our website. And if you've been to our website before, you might see that we typically market our software to some specific types of organizations running programs such as camps, courses, events, and trips. But the common thread between all of these is that they need a custom flow to collect data, some form of payment processing with a lot of flexibility there as well. And then reporting tools to manage, communicate with applicants, update people, and in many cases have a multi-step process of approval and follow-up and things like that. So within those four general types of organizations that we work with, you can see even with the list here that there are a lot of different types of camps, different types of courses, online, after school, or in a more adult education or corporate training courses. And then even within trips, different types of trips and events and things like that, whether that's in person or virtual. And so today, what I'm going to be talking about is some different ways to where if you're already using Regpack, which we're talking to our clients for this series right now, there's a lot of different additional uses that you might have, whether that's a specific addition to your actual program, or if you're trying something out, since we're all kind of in an interesting space right now where we're not necessarily going to have the same exact programs that we might have had in other years. So without further ado, one of the places that I do want to start is the Create Project section here with Regpack. So to reach that, you can go down here and you can always click Create New Project from the bottom screen right there, but you can also go ahead and find that in the, when you're going to, in your project settings, Create New Project. So before I go into all the different types, basically the Create New Project, you can copy an existing project. So if you are trying to get ahead of the game for like next school year or for any sort of upcoming registration, you'll be able to copy what you already have built out from a project manager. And there's a variety of reasons why that's beneficial. One, having a new flow, as well as if you're having new products, being able to easily, when somebody comes back as a returning registration, that they'll be able to have their data, but also, resubmit the information, like if they're making new orders and things like that, or if they have an additional child they want to register or something like that, making that really intuitive for them. But regardless of whether you're going to actually copy an existing project or go into a new project, this is the place to start. And the types of alternative uses I want to go into are with Regpack, some of the common additional uses outside of the ones that we list on the website there are being able to use it for your sales process. If you're doing lead management, you don't have to necessarily go out and buy this whole CRM package if you don't have a platform for that right now, because Regpack has a lot of those tools. And in fact, as an organization, we actually use that to manage our new business as well, to be able to follow up and things like that as well as staff applications. So if you're a summer camp, or whether you're a after school program, or even if you're managing signups for like a trip or event, having an application process for people who are going to be working that program is also something you'll be able to do within Regpack as well. And some of the things I might be going into a little bit more detail here are the ability to go use Regpack for donations. So one of the first webinars I did was going into the anonymous products. So being able to display on that first form just the list of options that you're having, and I'll show you an example of how you can leverage that for donations in just a bit. As well as, so if you're trying out an online course or an online fundraising event, doing something like that with a new project from a new template, as well as a digital storefront. So if you're just, and as an additional separate, like, you might not be signing up for a program right now, but you can still get some merchandise. So some ways to use Regpack right there, instead of having to go for some sort of separate system or platform or tool. You've already got the tools right here. Today we're going to be focusing on how to leverage those tools. So if you have questions, I wanted to list those different ideas out to start to get people thinking about those types of different uses. So please go ahead and chat questions to our chat questions here host. We'll be looking at those questions throughout the time. I'll be continuing to talk about the different examples I have in mind, but I do really want to hear if you guys have ideas or questions along the way. Please let us know, and we'll be getting to those today as well. So first, I'll start with the first two examples where you'd find sort of a launching pad. This create new project from a template tool, the templates. It's a really great sort of launching pad, since there are a lot of different foundational, whether that's forms or products or options or email templates that you might want to have just to lay the groundwork and then make it your own. And so I'm going to show you within the camp system those two examples I had of staff application, or also if you're going towards something with a lead management or sales process management. So within that, you've got those two templates are actually right here. So a quick set of forms where you can get questions or upload documents and things like that. When you're going through these templates, by the way, it'll list what they have, but you can also always try them out here, which will just take you to a really example landing page, which shows the basic tools that are already in there, so you can see sort of what the structure looks like from a user perspective. And then once you choose to add that in, you'll be able to customize it and add to it and build off of it. So it's sort of, the idea is that it's not pre-made for you, but it's like an idea of, so you don't have to do any of the groundwork in order to get started on this. And then for the staff application, Regpack's a great tool. We have many camp as well as after school program the clients that are using us to also do their applications for people who are actually working the programs themselves. Because if you have an influx of applications, being able to use the same system that you're doing for the influx of new registrations, it's all right there. Now, switching over to starting up something like a donation project or an online course or fundraising event, we actually do have an example of that right here. Regpack donation example. And this is sort of how you're going to be able to leverage the anonymous form. So again, in one of my first webinars in Regpack Flow, you are able to have that first form include all your project options. This is just a way you can collect some information. They go in and add in what donation type they'd want. They can, and you can also, of course, customize if it's pay what you want. You can add that in as well. And you can add descriptions to your actual donations. And then some of the tools that you're also going to have, mind you, is if you do want to have some of those bigger packages, the ability to then enroll people in auto bill plans. So donors have that flexibility to pay over time or make recurring payments as they are going. So with the donation project, one of the other benefits of having that in Regpack is that you're also going to be able to manage your data with the donations and as donors are coming in. So if I'm entering my information here and I'm selecting a donation, you're then going to be able to report on that information on your end. So being able to follow up, have automated thank yous, reminders of new events or ways that they can engage or follow how their donations are impacting your organization. You'll be able to have all those tools within Regpack if you're using it as using this tool right here. So I'll go ahead and show you some of the structure of how to set something like this up as well. But before, or as I'm doing that, I'm gonna focus as well on the idea of an online course or program. So we want to sort of encourage you, as you know, we're all trying to figure out how to maximize how to still engage with our community, different ways that you can offer your programs or offer your services. And so offering an online course, whether it's we definitely have plenty of clients who are transitioning their whole programming online, but whether you're in that bucket or also trying to just test the waters with your community, seeing if there are people who are interested in that and see what that looks like. So one of the ways that you can get started on that is by picking from a template. And you'll notice that we have course, class, template. There's a lot of overlap, obviously, in those. I'll stick with the course example for now. I'll stick with an individual course template. And basically, what you have between those different templates is the ability to have sort of a foundation. So whether you have, and the reason we have course versus class is if it's more specific to like a specific after-school class program, or if it's like more of a course like a online or webinar-based course, or like a training course or adult education or something like that. So I wouldn't get too lost in the details there, but we sort of have those different categories so you can sort of explore the different options in there. So I'm going to keep it really simple. Instead of going for the comprehensive template, I'm going to just go for products and payments. New online program. And now this is actually one of the biggest benefits of our annual plan, actually. You'll see here that you're going to have to check I approve the $50 charge for the new project. The $50 charge is only going to apply if you are on a month-to-month plan. So if you are on Regpack's annual plan, this does not apply to you. You just check that off, and it will not add to your cart. It's automatically credited. You do have the option of adding project manager assistance for these types of projects. If you're adding in, especially for projects with payments, if you are worried about the structure of that, you'll be able to add that in. But I'm going to keep it just approve the $50 charge, which isn't going to apply because we're on the annual plan here, and then get going. So it will take a minute or so to generate the project. It's going to pick from that template. It's going to then copy all the form information and the sort of structure that it has in there. So just bear with me for a second. But while I'm doing that, I do have a question that just came in. And that question is, can we embed the same donation iframe on several places? That's a really great question, actually. And the answer is yes. So with the iframe, you can use that iframe in multiple different landing pages across your website. So it's a question that comes up with donations as well as with different courses. If you have different types of the course or program that you're highlighting, you'll be able to still have that same registration up in different places on the landing page, on your website, excuse me. So same process applies. You're just copying and pasting that same iframe code to the different pages on your website. And actually, while I am on that same subject, something that we can go into today on the webinar is the idea that you can also leverage Regpack to be able to go into, if you don't have the access to create your different landing pages on your own website, using one of Regpack's landing pages, especially if you're creating sort of a soft launch of a program like an online course or something like that. Okay, so we made some progress. The project file is ready, and then we won't have any auto billing options, so it should be a matter of a minute or so to go here. So in terms of just to finalize that thought when it comes to the embedding versus a landing page, a Regpack landing page or template page. So one of our niches at Regpack is being able to put your registration right on your website. So it's part of your registration flow, but you're also able to, and I'll show you how you're going to be able to customize your own landing page. All right, new project created successfully. Normally it doesn't take quite that long. Since I'm sharing my screen, I'm using up a lot of computing power on my computer here at home, but we're created successfully. I'm going to go to the new project right now so we can take a look at what it looks like. So this is sort of a great way to sort of see what we actually built. We've got the forms here. And And actually, I'm not going to go into the each form and each field, because that's actually one of the greatest parts of the template itself, is that the foundation is already there for you. So we can actually go straight into the meat and potatoes, as I like to call it, and go into what we're actually offering here. So once we have those offerings, then we'll have a flow that we can test out. We can always, of course, fine tune the questions, the fields, to make it more your own. But let's go straight into what we want to offer in those actual product options as well. So this is where you start out once you've gotten your template created. How am I going to then add in my course option? So I'll go into main course. I won't, so for by the way, when it comes to category settings, you do have some control here if you want to be able to limit how people are selecting the options, or if it's a required option. I'm going to keep these options off so that we can select multiple if there are different options, as well as you know, I'll keep the mandatory category off for now, but that is really crucial if you want to make sure that people are signing up and then completing a specific category in order to proceed with registration and sign up. So I'll add my first product, and I won't go into too much of the details here. I'm hoping to go into more details on this particular tool next week with offering sessions, date-based options, and especially if you have something like a webinar course and you want to have those specific time slots that people are selecting, that is something I'll be able to get into in the near future. The goal is for us to be able to talk about that with you next week. But I'll keep it simple. This is the same type of product option that you all have access to right now. And if you are in Regpack Flow, you can still make those date-based. So I will talk about online program course. Add a price to it. And then from there, you've got a couple other controls. Since this is a specific course, I'm going to keep it as only ordered once. If you are doing something like a merchandise, or if it's donations and you want people to be able to have your, like if it, for example, they can add as much as they want, then you check this off. But I'm going to keep it on since this is a specific course, and I'm going to put a date on it. So since it's an online course, let's talk about next week. All right, Tuesday through Saturday. So we'll go into one other thing that is important to if you do have a quota. Since it's an online program, I'll decide to keep that off for now, but you do have some options if you have a limited number of spots available, or for example, if you're trying a free version of a software like a Zoom or a Google Classroom and they have classroom limits, then you'll want to make sure that you don't have too many people who have ordered and paid. Recommendation, if you do anticipate a high volume of applicants, to keep the quota as the ordered quota. You'll be able to track people as they pay. This is a much better way of organizing your quotas, so you make sure that people have the spot, they then pay for it, and you can track those as they come in. And then if you want, you can add the wait list. Waitlist tool is really easy to use. You can change the way it's displayed as well. I won't go into too much detail there, but just so you have some controls over the quota. And again, we're going to keep that off for now. So I'll go ahead and create. And now we've got our products right here. So once we've gotten the different options, and maybe we'll add another date for our second option right here. So we've got some things to choose from. So now we've got our two different options for the online course. And from there, what I want to highlight is what you might have left to do for setting up something like an online course. So again, one of the great things about Regpack is the way that once you have applications completed, your ability to be able to communicate with applicants, update people as things are coming up. So for example, if you're saying, hey, we're going to have this online course, you have people sign up, you have the details on what the course is going to be about, and then you have, of course, where is this course going to be held online. So if you're vetting your options as far as how to set something like that up, you'll be able to do that and then communicate the actual, if there's a link to go to actually join the classroom. So for example, how we've used Regpack to have people sign up for this webinar. And from there, we've been emailing out confirmations that they've signed up, as well as the actual details and the links to actually join meetings like today's. So the way that you're going to be able to do that is through the email templates. You can also, of course, have information on the forms themselves, on the dashboards, things like that, if you want people to re-engage with their registration profile. But an easy way to communicate updates is from those email templates itself. So here's some examples of automated responses that they're going to get from the system. But we're going to go into like a new email template. So for example, classroom link. And for the emails, please let me know if you have specific questions about this. We do have lots of resources in our Help Center videos about more details on how to set up your emails. But what you'd want to do for something like a classroom link is first go into the actual name and information of the person. So hi, first name, and then this week's session will be held. And then from there, you're going to have your course, your link to join. So you can either have that on hyperlink that actual phrase here so that they just click on here, or you can provide the full link for them to copy paste right there. So that writes out as your website. So we'll just do regpacks.com, for example. So now it's right there. You could also change the word here, of course. So I won't go into more details about email templates, but these can be something that you're going into sending out automatically upon people paying, or it's something that you can send out as you have an update. Like for example, if you have a new meeting link or classroom link every week or every session, for example. So that's sort of the basics on setting up. So we'll save this for now. So now what we've done, we've gotten our template created, which has our basic registration flow. We can, of course, edit this as we need to, personalize the actual questions and fields as we're going. And also, if you don't need information like, for example, emergency contact or things like that, since it's not in person, you can definitely take out some of these questions. The only thing that that's highly recommended to keep, of course, is your actual offerings that you're adding in the products, and then a name and email address so that you have a point of contact, as well as they have an account as they're registering. So it's easy to go through. So this is an example of that flow. We've got a terms and conditions. They select their options and then they pay. And that brings me to one other tool that I do want to just loop back to. I've talked about AutoBill before, but in the context of, even if it is an online program, for example, if you have multiple sessions or something like that, or more specifically, we've talked about the donation option, the ability to have people enroll in plans. So this, actually misspoke. So it does actually create you some basic options, this template that we just chose. But I'm going to go ahead and create a new AutoBill plan. So donation installments. Oops, I can spell. And this is an option where you can choose to add it in yourself. For example, if you're only allowing that on a case-by-case basis, but if you do want to encourage people to, to make a deposit so that they can start, making a extended donation over time, and that way you have an idea of what to anticipate from donations in the near future, you'll be able to set that up here. I'm going to, again, skip some of these options. These are the defaults for Regpack on how to set up your different AutoBill options. And then from there, we go to our payment schedule. I have a really great question about auto bill, a couple of different questions. I'm going to address those now since it's related to what we're setting up. So the first part is, can I trigger a specific auto bill plan to automatically add to only users who have selected a specific donation package? For example, like we had the that one package about the diamond or elite level package. So if you have a big ticket item and that's, you know, if you select this option, you get a plan. Yes, you can set up those triggers. So once we set up the dates, we can go into what those trigger options might be. The other part of that question is, can they still just pay in full on the checkout screen if they are in an auto bill plan? And yes, that is an option. So when you're, one of the things I probably won't go through on today's session, but I do want to highly recommend is every time you're setting up a new project, definitely test it out at least 2 or 3 times. And especially if you tested it out once and you're making a few edits, test it out a few more times. And especially if you have specific triggers like for auto bill plans, test out the different conditions that you need to meet to make sure that those are triggering properly. So you're always going to be able to, well, let's finish this plan, but I'll show you where you go to create, to test out your system to make sure that that's really important. Some of you are probably already aware of that, but for others, I want to make sure that you're doing that, you're testing out your system, especially since we're talking about ways that you can try out building things with Regpack yourself. So for our plan, we're going to have the plan start on when they select it. You can actually choose a different date though. But if you do choose a different date, and especially if you're planning on having that be in the future, for example, like let's say the plan doesn't start till the 30th, then you do want to still have a deposit. So what that will do is that if they're registering today and the plan doesn't start till another 20 days from now, they have a card on file because they've made a payment. So even if that's a small deposit, like a $5 deposit, what that will do is they'll pay that deposit and they don't have to go back to enter in their payment on the 30th. So we'll create an end date as well. Let's go for a couple months out, June 30th, for example. And then we go into how we have our payments structured. So it can be based on the date plans initiated. So for example, if it's going to start on the April 30th, that's the date that it's going to start. Or we can have it, you know, on the 1st of the month or the 15th of the month, or we can do it based on a bi-weekly basis as well. If you do have a specific structure, like for example, if we're not talking about a matter of a few months, or if it's not a regular monthly payment, like an annual donation payment that you're doing, what you can do is set out your own dates. The only reason this is less recommended is because then it sort of creates more different variables that you're having to track, and AutoBill's recalculating based on that. It's not a problem to use this option, which is why we have it in there. And it's definitely really popular for our clients that have some big ticket items, but they're still planning for months in advance. So they want to make sure that people aren't having to pay them all the time. They're paying in installments still, and they can still make progress towards a future program that they're offering a year from now. So a great example is like if there's a conference or something like that, or an event or a trip or something, or even if it's a case of like a school year tuition, for example, and it's not a monthly basis, it's like a semester basis. That's where you'd want to use a custom date. So we'll keep it on, so we have some options. We'll just keep it on the monthly base, on the date plan initiated. And then we'll go ahead and actually one thing I will want to do, since we have it starting on the 30th, I'm going to add in that it ends on July 1st. Now that's a little trick there, so you can make sure that you still have the 30th as a date to include the plan. So if you have the date, if you're planning on having a final date, a deposit date, for example, on the 30th, you want to have the plan end the day after, because if it's going to end on that day, it won't put a deposit then. It wants to close out the balance before that date. So by July 1st, everybody will be closed on this plan. So real quick, we're getting low on time. I'm going to just, there was a question about how to set up a trigger. So I do want to just address how to go ahead and do that. So if you're only allowing the plan to apply to people who have a specific product option, what you want to do is add the plan and hide from others. So you have some different options on how to trigger the plan. So the conditions that we want to do is based on, in this case, the product. So we have the two different courses. Of course, we have the initial one, that's the first one coming up next week, and then 2 weeks from now we have the second online program course. From there, what you're going to have to do is have it by added. So that way, once they add it, they do have that option to pay in installments. So it's automatically added. If you want to give them the option to say, no, I'll pay in full right off the bat, you can, like if that's something you'd rather encourage, so you can have it, instead of this be the type of condition, you do show. So they have the option to choose that, or they can pay up front. So we'll keep it as add because they can still at checkout decide, hey, actually, I think I can pay this up front. I'll go ahead and close the balance now. So I'll just set up that condition. Once we've added that specific course, we'll be able to add in that auto bill plan. So definitely, if you have more questions about triggers, feel free to reach out to myself or our chat right now, as well as our support team. It's something that we definitely work with clients a lot on. There's all different types of ways that you can leverage those triggers to set up your specific customized plans based on what types of things people are signing up for. I have another question, and we are running out of time. So I will have to start wrapping this up. The other question is, can I resend a receipt email for tax purposes and target specific users? So in the email templates, we're going into what types of emails that are already generated. And so you do have these types of emails that are already there. So one of the ways that you can resend an email receipt, you are able to, once you have your email template set up, and you have some applicants, being able to select an applicant, and from that applicant's page, go into the emails and send and select an email to send. So when you're setting up email triggers, you might see the option to have send only once. You can still manually send emails. One of the things that I would recommend doing if you're planning on that being a need that you have is create your own receipt email as well. You won't need to have that automatically be sent out since they do get a receipt automatically through Regpack if they're paying. That's the system email that we have set up. But if you do plan on sending people a copy of their receipt, the thing that you're going to want to do, and I'll just use the template that we have here instead of going through the whole steps again, but what you do want to, the tokens that you're going to be looking for, and that's through a token to have the full order list, is the cart list, which will, in an email setting, generate based on the actual orders. It's formatted very nicely for an email, as well as if you wanted to show their payment. So you can show their payment history or what their balance is or what the payments, the total that actually adds to. The payment history will show the payments that they have made. So if they've made multiple installments or things like that, that's what you might want to use for like tax purposes. Now, what will not actually work is if you're looking for a specific ID, receipt ID or something like that. So they will have proof of payment, but sometimes what is a common question is people will ask, can I generate like specific donation codes or tax codes, receipt codes for write-offs? And that is something that you won't be able to add in here. They'll of course have their proof of payment, they'll have your confirmation, that sort of thing. But that specific reporting piece that you can send to your applicants, that isn't something that currently is part of Regpack. So good question. You can, of course, send your receipts and have your confirmations as well as proof of all the payments that have come in. So definitely still some great uses there. So we are a little bit over time. I usually try to keep this to 30 minutes, especially since we do have a hard limit of on these webinars. I hope this was really helpful. It was definitely a lot of fun. One of the great things about being a part of Regpack is that there are so many different ways you can use it. So definitely hope that you were able to find value through the webinar today, and definitely hope this inspired you to start testing some things out. Again, it's a really interesting time for us all. We're trying to work on how we can adjust, how we can pivot, how we can still find ways to bring people together in a time that we're supposed to be physically apart. So hope this helps inspire you to do that for your community, for your applicants, and definitely feel free to reach out to us if you have more questions or need some help getting that set up. So I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Again, hope you all are staying safe and you and yours are staying healthy. Look forward to next week when we can talk more about the session tool. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Thank you.